morning, students. We'll have today a chapter discussed about capacity to contract. So it's the next topic, which is chapter number 4. We are going to this stage. Hope you were able to understand the concepts till chapter number 3. This is basics of contract, offer and acceptance, consideration, and then we are going to capacity to contract. Capacity to contract. What do you mean by capacity to contract? Capacity means the contractual ability. What does it mean, contractual ability? The capacity to enter into the contract, the ability to enter into the contract. You are having the qualification to enter into the contract. For example, the person has to be an auditor. What he has to do? He has to qualify himself as a chartered accountant. The person has to be a cost auditor, so he has to qualify himself as a cost accountant. A person has to be a company secretary. He has to qualify himself as a ACS qualification. The same way, for a contractual ability, for entering into an agreement, for entering into a contract, there has to be necessarily a qualification which prescribes or entail upon him the legal capacity. So legal capacity means only when he has this qualification he can enter into the contract. If he doesn't have this qualification, he cannot enter into the contract. You need to be very, very clear about these concepts. So a person, as per the provisions of the Indian Contract Act, it clearly says that there are certain categories of people who are explicitly not competent. We say competent. Competent means not having the ability, not having the qualification, not having the contractual ability to enter into the contract. Who are they? They are the three set of people. First is minor. The second is unsounded minded persons. Third is other disqualified persons. We have subcategory in that. Who are they? They are lunatics, idiots, drunken, intoxicated persons. So these are the persons who cannot enter into the contract. Other than this, everybody have the capacity to enter into the contract. So first is minor. Let us go to the minor. As per, there is a relevant legislation called Indian Majority Act. So which clearly says that a person who has to be above 18 years of age in order to qualify himself or term himself as a major. If he is below 18 years of age, then he is a minor. So what happened is, there was a popular case where a minor person who is less than 18 years of age had an instance of mortgaging his property. He had a property and he had mortgaged that property with a money lender. The money lender is a person who is giving money, right? So he mortgaged the property with the money lender. So what happened is, the money lender took the property, kept it as a security, and gave an amount of 8,000 against a property worth 20,000. The property was 20,000 value, but he gave the loan amount to the tune of close to 30%. So there was around 16 or 8,000 to 16,000 was the amount that was granted to the minor. What happened is, the minor took away the money, he spent the money like anything, and later point of time, the person who is a money lender came to know that the person who mortgaged the property was a minor. He is not even competent to enter into the contract. So he filed a suit against the minor. The case went to the court. The court held that any contract with a minor is totally void. This is a landmark judgment which was given in the case Mohiri BB versus Mohiri BB versus Mohiri HIRA. Okay, Mohiri BB versus Dharmadas Ghosh. Some people used to say Ghosh, some people used to say Ghosh. So Mohiri BB versus Dharmadas Ghosh. This was a popular case law which had this landmark judgment given by the court. So any contract entered into with a minor, it is absolutely void. It is void ab initio. Ab initio, what does it mean? ABINITO. Ab initio means void from the very beginning. Void from the very beginning. So you need to be very, very careful about this minor contracts. So minor can always be beneficiary under the contract. He can enter into a contract just for taking benefits, just for reaping some positive things out of the contract, but he can never be held liable under the contract. A person because of a failure to deliver a contractual obligation, minor cannot be sued upon, minor cannot be held liable for not carrying out the obligation, or no case lies against the minor because he is totally incapacitated to enter the contract. The reason why we are saying minor is totally incompetent to enter into the contract is minor as a person is unable to understand the terms and conditions of the contract just because of the age factor, because he is less than 18 years of age. He will not be able to understand the terms and conditions. He will not be able to understand what is the implication. If I enter into this contract with this person as a minor, what does I get out of it? Out of this contract, what are the benefits that I am going to get? Out of this contract, am I liable? What are my performance obligations? So more it is of a technical nature which minor cannot understand just because he is entered into the contract with the third person. At that age of less than 18 years, he will not have that mental capacity to understand the terms and conditions, think like an ordinary man because he is not matured enough to understand the terms and conditions. That is why a minor less than 18 years of age, that is as a person less than 18 years of age, cannot enter into a contract. He will not be able to understand the rational judgments, think about it, form a rational judgment, understand the consequences of the contract. So that is why a minor is incapacitated to enter into the contract. This is the primary reason why minor is incapacitated to enter into the contract. The second category is persons of unsound mind. So what does this persons of unsound mind categories? If we see persons of unsound mind, this is what you actually classify. So if we have them, we have to term them as this. We will be very clear. This will be here. Persons of unsound mind will be here, and other disqualified persons are categories later. This B part will be this. A part is this. And C I will classify it. Persons of unsound mind will be divided into 4 categories: lunatics, idiots, drunken, intoxicated persons. When you say lunatic, what is the difference between lunatic and idiot? Lunatic is a person who is suffering from personal experience, due to personal experience, some mental suffering he is having. He is suffering mental illness because of personal experience, sadness, some kind of personal bad experience that is having. He is suffering from that. He may recover back quickly. Whereas in case of idiot is a person who lost his mental capacity permanently. He will not even think about understanding even the basic things out of the contract. He will not even understand about what we are saying. So what are we conveying? What are the things that are beneficial to him? So he will not even just think over that capacity. He has lost permanently his mental capacity. Whereas lunatic is a person who has lost his temporarily his mental capacity. He has capacity to recover back. At any point of time he will bounce back to normal. But again, this person, he can never be bouncing back because he has lost his mental capacity. Drunken person, popular example is people going to Taskmark, having drinks and those kind of things, where we are having regular drinking capacity. Because of the drinking capacity, he is in an isolation mode. His mind is in isolation mode. At any point of time, he will remember one thing. Most of the time he will forget the thing. So if you say a particular thing to a person in the morning, he will think he will understand in a better way. But again, if he is drunken, totally it will be forgotten. So those kind of categories. So he is in a mid stage. He is neither this side or that side because he is in a drunken state. So drinking affects his mental thinking capacity and therefore it incapacitates him from entering into the contract. Last is intoxicated persons. What does this intoxicated person do? There are cases where drugs or kind of intoxicated material is induced into the body of a person, and because of this injection of that intoxicated material into the body, and the person behaves in a totally different way. So because this injection, this drug makes him to think in a different way, act in a different way, behave in a different way. So he will not act or behave in the normal course of a life where a man used to be. Therefore, in intoxicated category, he will not be a normal person. He is acting in one way or the other. Either ways he will act. So typical to drunken person. So these are the 4 categories under unsound-minded persons who will be totally incapacitated to enter into the contract. Only difference between these 2 categories is that drunken intoxicated person is always such a problem, so you can leave it to us. But lunatic and idiot is that idiot cannot enter into the contract permanently because he's lost his mental capacity, whereas lunatic, he is of sound, unsound mind. We call it as interval, what we say interval. He is sometimes of sound interval, sometimes is of unsound interval. So it will be a combination of both. Whenever he is of a sound mind, he can enter into the contract. Whenever he is of unsound mind, he cannot enter into the contract at the time when he is of unsound mind. But when he is of sound mind, he can enter into the contract. So that's the difference between entering into a contract for lunatic and idiot. Idiot can never enter into the contract because he lost his mental capacity. That's the difference between these four categories and these two main parts. Then comes other disqualified persons. What is other disqualified persons? In other disqualified persons, we categorize them as government, we classify them as corporation, insolvent, foreign ambassador, so these are the people who cannot actually enter into specifically specified contracts. What we say, a government means a local corporation or local authority where they are bound by local legislations. They cannot just like enter into the contract, they have a lot of restrictions. They have to follow the rules and regulations as per the contract, so they have to ultimately fulfill the terms. Otherwise, they cannot just like enter into the contract. Most of the cases will be, for example, local authority, it will be governed by the local rules and regulations. They have to comply with it before entering into the contract. Because it is a self-imposed obligation on them, they have to follow, otherwise they will be liable. So that's one thing. Corporation means a corporation, as you say, it is actually not a natural person. It is not like a human being. It cannot walk, it cannot jog, it cannot run, etc. It is actually an artificial person. It is more perfectly, if you want to say, it is more of a legal person. It is a legal person created by the law, and therefore it has to be put to an end only by the process of the law. We are very clear, because corporations, similar to companies, they are actually created by the law, so it can be put to an end only by the process of the law. Therefore, corporations generally cannot have entering into the contract, capacity to enter into the contract, because corporations, as company form of organization, they cannot directly enter into contract. They can enter into contract through their agents, who are obviously the principals, who are obviously the directors, who are obviously the secretaries or officers or persons holding senior management positions in the company. They can enter into the contract on behalf of the corporation. Whereas corporation cannot directly enter into the contract with the third party. So that is a difference. That is why we are called as a disqualified. It's absolute disqualification. It is a restricted disqualification. Because corporation, they cannot have the direct contract with the third party. As I said, they can enter into the contract only through the agent and representatives. Obviously, through directors or officers. That too, the corporation has to authorize them, give them power, and then only they can enter into the contract. Otherwise, if the corporation doesn't give them power, does not give the authority, still directors enter into the contract. They will be personally liable. That's the only thing which is here. Then insolvent person. Insolvent person means person who doesn't have any money, who doesn't have any assets, who doesn't have any property. So that insolvent person cannot enter into the contract because he is not having the legal or the necessary qualification, necessary property, necessary assets, resources to support him to enter into the contract. Therefore, the insolvent person is actually incapacitated to enter into the contract. At the same time, there is another important small proviso to this rule, which says that when a person is an insolvent who had applied to the court of law for adjudicating him as insolvent. For example, if I made an application to the court of law, I don't have property, I don't have money, but outside world will not know that I don't have money or property. In that situation, circumstances, what I need to do? I have to make an application to the court of law, and I have to make a specific reference that I am actually an insolvent person. I don't have assets and properties. Therefore, you may declare me as an insolvent so that I get a proper insolvency order adjudicated from the court of law, and based on that I am actually going to represent myself as an insolvent to the outside world. Because if I don't have an asset or money, and if I remain as such, outsider without knowing that if he gives some money to me or I borrow the money, misrepresenting the same that I am a solvent person, whereas I am an insolvent person, what they will do? the person who is giving money is going to come back year after year, but I am not going to repay because I don't have assets. I am insolvent. In that case, I have to go to the court, I have to apply to the court, get a certificate of insolvency and show to the outside world that I am a declared insolvent. When you say declared insolvent, it is insolvent declared as a person by the court of law. That is why we can't say declared insolvent. So the declared insolvent cannot enter into the contract because he is already declared insolvency and he is given a certificate of insolvency by the court of law. Next is foreign ambassador. Foreign ambassador means a person who is an ambassador representing a person from the foreign state or foreign ministry or any other person. So he is coming to India as a representative of that foreign person. So in that case, foreign ambassador is a temporary visit, he is coming to India, he cannot actually enter into a contract during the stage because he is not even Indian citizen. He cannot enter into a contract with an Indian person or any other person, therefore he is said to be a disqualified person. So these are the obviously specific disqualifications which have been laid down under other disqualifications. So government, corporation, insolvency. So let's move to the next topic. Hope you are able to understand what we discussed till now. Next is position of the minor. When you come to the contract law, this particular question comes in your intermediate as well as in your foundation as a very important question that is maybe as a repetitive question. But when it comes to the legal point of view, we need to understand what is the explicit position with respect to minor. So why we discuss minor so importantly is that because of the case law as we discussed, Dharmadas Ghosh versus Mohini Bibi, and the following principles slowly emanated from the case, and based on various other judgments that happened throughout the country or across the country, there were several other judgments which happened. Slowly and steadily some important points were inferred from the cases, and that itself emerged as some of the short answer part of it for your answering your law of contract. Slowly and steadily these points emanated from the various cases and judgments that took place across India. So what are the positions of the minor, specifically with respect to minor? Minor contract is void ab initio. As I said, void ab initio means it is void, it is cancelled, it is no longer valid. It is ab initio void means from the very beginning. We got as ab initio, A-B-I-N-I-T-I-O. Ab initio, initio, what is initio? In English we call it as initial. Initial means commencement, beginning. Okay. Ab means void. So from the very beginning, it is void means from the very beginning. Ab means from, initio means beginning. From the very beginning, it is void. Void means cancelled. It is no longer valid. When you enter into the contract with a minor, it is absolutely void. There can never be a contract in the eyes of the law, is what the court says. In the Mohini Bibi case, what had happened is the judges asked the moneylender that are you not having eyes, are you not able to see that person whether it's a young age, whether you are not able to infer from the circumstances that he is a minor. How can you say that I advance some money to him on the belief that he is a major? Are you not having eyes? These are the questions that were asked by the judge, so they were not able to answer. And anyway, the money granted is granted, the minor enjoyed the money, there was no question of repaying back. So minor happily went away from the case and he enjoyed the benefit and walked away. So the court released the minor and the case was dismissed. So this was the popular things. So when you come to minor contract, Mohini Bibi versus Dharmadas Ghosh, the principle that emanated is minor contract is void ab initio. From the very beginning it is altogether void. There can be no such contract in the eyes of the law. You can never recognize such contract in the eyes of the law. It is no longer valid. Second is minor can always plead minority, which means that I am a minor. How can you put me into obligation? I am always a minor. I am always incapacitated to enter into the contract. Law gives me shelter. Law gives me protection. So I can take that benefit or a protection given by the law, and always I can plead my minority age and escape out of the obligation. That is why as a minor, he can always plead minority, means he can take benefit. Plead means he can take benefit of the age of minority and escape the obligation under the contract. Minor can always plead minority. Then person who has advanced money to the minor cannot recover. This is called doctrine of restitution. So what we call as a doctrine of restitution, so when we advance our money to a person as a minor, so we give the money to the minor on the belief that the minor will repay back, or the belief that the person will repay back. But later we come to know that the person is not at all a minor, as the same case which is Mohini Bibi case. He later came to know that a person is not a minor, not a major person, he is actually a minor person. Whatever you are given anything, the minor can always take advantage of that. He can plead the minority, take away the money, enjoy the money, he can actually escape or walk out of the contract. You cannot recover anything from the minor because it is a legally given obligation or benefit to the minor because of the fact that he will not exhibit understanding of the ordinary things. As I said earlier, it doesn't have the rational judgment to make consequences about the contract that he is entering into. Therefore, minor person to whom the money has been given as a beneficiary, the minor can take the benefit, walk away with the money, and there is no need to recover anything, even a paisa from the minor account. So minor can enjoy the benefit. Minor can be beneficiary. As I said, he can be beneficiary of the contract. He will not be held liable under the contract. Popular example is that minor can be a partner in the partnership firm. There are two partners, for example, partner A, partner B. Partner A is a major, partner B is major, whereas C is a minor who is admitted into the partnership by the consent of A and B. The C, who is a minor, who is entered into the partnership firm, can always take the benefits out of the partnership firm. If there is a profit, he can share. If there is any other benefits that comes to the partnership firm, that can be given to the minor. Whereas if there is a big loss, if there is a big liability, minor will not be held liable because he is enjoying or he is entrusted to the contract only to reap, only to reap or take benefits out of the contract. He can be a beneficiary, he will not be an obligatory, he will not be made a person obligated to make the payment of liability, or he will be held liable for anything, actions against the firm. Right? So in that case, minor can be a beneficiary. Then no ratification of the age of attaining majority. For example, if a person A enters into a contract with B, B is a minor, A is a major. Remember, A is a major person, B is a minor person. He enters into a contract with B. But what happens is, at the time when the contract is entered into, as I said, A is a major and B is a minor. But subsequently, the contract is performed, and later, once the person who is B, who is a minor, attains the age of majority, he cannot later rectify the contract and say that no, this contract is now fine. I was a minor at the time, and now I am going to be a major. I can elect the contract as valid. I can treat the contract as valid. He cannot say. Once a contract is entered into, at the time when the contract is entered into, either of the parties, offerer or lawfully, remember, should be a minor, and one of the person is a minor. Obviously, the contract entered into him is void ab initio. This is the principle. Later, even on attaining majority, they cannot come and ratify, correct the contract, or they cannot set right the contract. Initial time when they are minor, when they enter into the contract, it is void from the very beginning. There is no question of rectification later on, even on the age of attaining majority. Right? Minor can be an agent. As I said, an employer can have a minor person employed as an agent. Again, that agent has to act in the best interest of the principal. He will act in the best interest of the principal, and he will be carrying out his duties. Again, as an agent, he can be entitled to benefits. He will not be responsible for any liabilities. That is the principle. So, minor can be an agent of the principal. Minor liable for necessity supply. Kanwarlal versus Suraj Mal. There is a popular case. Kanwarlal versus Suraj Mal. Kunwarlal. Kanwarlal versus Suraj Mal. Surajmal. Suraj Mal. So Kanwarlal versus Suraj Mal. What had happened is, there was some money which is given to the minor for getting a house and staying in and studying. The person who is given a money for that purpose is only to make the minor study, eke out a living, live there, study, and come out in life. What happened is, the person who has given the money for purchase of the house later wanted to recover back the money from the minor. He filed a case against the minor, and the case went to the court. The court held that there can be no instance where the person given advance to the minor can recover against him personally. Please understand, there is no suit which can be levied against the minor to recover and make him personally liable. Nothing. If he has a property, the next judgment that follows is, if he has a property, that is minor, if he has a property, then the person who wants to recover back the money can sell the minor property and take the proceeds and meet his expense. If he wants to recover back the money, he can sell off the minor property, collect the proceeds, whatever he is getting from the sales, then he can use it for meeting his reimbursement purpose. Right? So please remember, no person can recover through any suit or any case against the minor. Cost of necessity supplied to the minor. Personal. Minor, if he has property, we can recover against him. Otherwise, if the minor doesn't have property, that's all. The person who was given any benefit cannot recover from the minor. Cannot. Okay. Minor can never be adjudged insolvent. Last point is, under the court of law, insolvency order can be issued only to major persons, only to persons who is capacitated to enter into the contract. Only when the person having the capacity to enter into a legal contract or major persons attain majority. But minor is a person who does not even attain majority. Therefore, for a minor, under court of law cannot issue an insolvency order or cannot make him an insolvent person. Minor can never be adjudged. Adjudged means judgment order. Adjudged means judgment order issued by the court to make a minor liable as a insolvent. So minor can never be declared or adjudicated as insolvent. So these are the positions of the minor under Indian Contract Act. Let me repeat. Minor contract is void ab initio. Minor can always plead minority. My person was given money or any benefit to the minor cannot, please understand, cannot recover. Minor can be a beneficiary or advantageous person. No ratification on the age of attaining majority by the minor. Minor can be an agent. Minor is always liable for necessity supplied only when he has a property, and no case can lie against him personally. Only when the minor has property, person given the benefit or necessity can recover. Minor cannot be adjudicated as insolvent, which means that minor can never be given a court order of insolvency because he is incapacitated to enter into contract.